Merhaba. Can you hear me all right? Let me just turn off the music again. And for some reason it's... Oh, come on. Kill that. And Discord's gone through the wrong audio channel, so stand by. That should be better.
I don't know. Cool.
There we go. Yeah, I'm just working on the map config at the moment.
Cool.
So if you're running it through Twitch if you're already online.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just easy because I can stream it straight to YouTube once I'm done.
Yeah, that helps. Untitled broadcast.
Oh, it still does that? Frick. I love the integration with Twitch with NVIDIA. We fixed that stream up. Because NVIDIA does this whole stream setup. And then where you put in all the information and then it doesn't pass it through to Twitch.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that was great. Good job.
The good thing it does use NVENC, the NVIDIA GPU encoder, which is nice.
Good job.
The good thing it does. So go to the top right, click on your icon, dash. Oh, you're already good.
Yeah. I just can't remember what I was called this stream. I'm just going to go to my YouTube and just copy the other the old
Raw.
number 2.
Oh, if you haven't watched the steak dinners video on YouTube, I recommend it. It's pretty good.
There you go. Is that better?
Yes. See it.
Perfect.
Hey, Vox. He's streaming on Twitch right now. I'll drop him a link. It's in Patrol Ops.
Got.
So I'll run you through quickly where I started. So, essentially what I got up and running here. Good Lord, seriously. So this is the old script I wrote a long time ago on the generating the map data. And essentially what it does is it checks the world first for any predefined configs, that type of stuff, before it moves into scanning the world environment for all their more complex and heavy loaded processes on finding positions and such, and basically builds a config file that you then save and can load in to the world each time Patrol Ops is launched. So what this ends up doing is, you can see here when the stream catches up, I've created a little pretend village on one of the peninsulas just to see if the object detection is running smoothly, and it seems to be going quite well. So the way it works is you place down a logic, give it a location type. So here you just set the variable of the logic MPSF location type, and I call this one a village. It could be town, city, I don't know, anything you want to call it. Could be hovel, slum, I don't care. And then you sync it to a trigger area that then defines the parameters of the size of the area, the angle, and it can be asymmetric as well. So that's then stored in the config, which you can then call upon later. So in a task you might say, I declared a specific location, let's call it, I don't know, a dead slum or whatever. If I was to search for all the location types matching that, the task would pull all available locations synchronized to that type of config, so then it would know the exact viable places for that mission. So if you wanted to only pick cities or pick towns or villages or houses or other areas such as good places for drug dens and stuff like that, so you would place logics around the place to identify those points of interest, and then in your task config you would simply go, okay, for all the drug dens, let's place a random operation in one of them. So you can at least make it dynamic, but kind of pre-script it to specific locations that you think would be viable. If that makes any sense.
Makes sense to me.
So if I zoom out on the map, you can see here I'm testing all the logics across the map. I've only set up, this is, I don't know, the 9th time I've done this, just set up towns, cities, villages, and I'm just testing some custom configs on villages.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole concept here is just to refine the positions. Now, right now, the current version of Patrol Ops has a hugely dense metadata. So what I'm looking at here is streamlining a little bit, so it's less information, decrease the density of all the positions that it needs to know about, and also kind of refine some of the specifics as well. So you can see up here I created a whole new town just to, because everyone's played Altus to death, so how do you make it a little bit more interesting, that type of thing. And that's by creating new locations, is one way.
Yeah.
So the way it works...
5,000 hours ARM. I don't think I've played more than 500 outside of Altus.
Yeah, that's a fair chunk. I can't even remember what I'm up to. What is it? Yeah, about 5,000, 6,000, whatever. But yeah, it's been, God, you get to know Altus too well after that. So the way it works is it gets the sectors of the map, defines the area, and then it simply goes through all the building types, and then it starts looping through. So this is the section where it loops through all the logics that you predefine first and removes any nearby locational information. That way you don't overlap. And then it'll go through towns, areas, any remaining houses, and tries to do a simple cluster of homes to then define additional houses and villages. And the spawn-in locations for the air, and then it simply then starts constructing all the outputs for the what do you call it? The export of the config. So here it just writes all it out to the clipboard, and then you simply just paste the clipboard into a file and save it and include it in your mission. So that allows you to create additional maps quite quickly, and that way the main point of this is there's a lot of resource intensive commands that need to run to make sure positional awareness or positional like how it identifies viable positions, like commands like is, flat and empty and such are very resource intensive. So this whole process here does it and then builds all the config based off that, and therefore you don't need to run it on the server while you've got 40 or 50 people connected, and potentially slow down the server by trying to calculate in all the positions, because keep in mind we're moving away from just one principal task at a time, where you can probably afford that small hiccup of as the task is creating, but in this version we're moving to a fully organized parent-child architecture. So every single task has to have position information, and it's also, there's the offset positions as well. So while from an Intel perspective you might know the location on the map, the offset is where the task is actually at, so it allows you to hide your tasks, all this stuff that needs to be contained and optimized. So over the course of the years of developing this, we moved away from using those commands in the game to then running them to produce a config file and then simply reference the config file for viable locations.
Just makes it run a lot smoother.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
More frame.
Damn straight. So once all this config is generated, it goes and you just add it into your map. So here's Altus's config from a previous run, and it is 33,500 lines in length with all the metadata of sectors, locations, and such, which can be used. So here's an example of a city in a specific sector, number of buildings 119, and it tells me the subsectors as well. So while in the first release I'm not aiming to have sector clearances of areas, that's certainly something I'm also considering.
This is probably something like Pure Ghost.
Kind of.
119 buildings.
Yeah, so the idea would be, where did I get the idea from? I think it was in the Insurgency map, Insurgency game mode a long time ago, where sectors were red and green depending if there was enemies in them. So what I was thinking there is, how do you kind of predefine the sectors for a city that you would then have to go clear as one of the tasks. So if I was to run this, and you can actually see the script running as we go, you'll actually see it scan the logics first. When it loads up, here we go. Okay, so I'm simply just going to execute the function, generate config map data, setting the sector size as 1000 meters, and I'm asking it to draw the markers as it goes so I can see how it goes. So I'll just simply execute that and reference the map, and you can see all over the map it's created sectors at 1000 by 1000 that are touching a landmass. And then as you zoom into the city, you can see it's starting to map out the cities and also do viable sectors inside. So in this one there's 11 sectors in Neri. There's another 11 sectors in Panachori, and so forth. So it'll build all that out based on if there's buildings in that sector and stuff. So now it'll just record the metadata, and if I go over to where I pretended this little village was, once it gets there, it should identify the logic, the area, and also read the buildings in that area as well that were placed down in the editor.
Mr. Steph from your chat is wondering how many lines of code so far.
Oh god.
I'd assume a lot.
Oh yeah. Alright, Mr. Steph, let's give you a rough line count. I just want to see if this populates first, because you can see it's doing the cities down here. Out there it goes, so I identified it. Didn't create any sectors, interestingly enough, but I only had a handful of buildings in there. But at least you can see it drew the location. Yeah, it went all there. So that's it, populating all those logics, and it'll go into more detail. Now, if you want to look at the number of lines of code, good lord. Where do I start? We just collapse all this other stuff down, all the variations and stuff over time. Okay, let's look at, because keep in mind I wrote code to write code for me. So all of these config generators, I didn't write all of this. I had the script write it for me. So I didn't need to actually produce a lot of the config files. Instead I wrote this script. So this script alone is 670 odd lines of code. And then in there there's functions on functions doing small little things. So if you put a line count to this, God, I dread to actually think it'd be probably close to, I don't know, a few 100,000, maybe 1,000,000 lines of code at the end of the day that we've written. Because it all adds up. My longest one would be, what would be long? I think it would be my virtual depot. That one alone is, yeah, 2,180 lines. And that's actually cut down massively from the first couple of versions.
Goodness.
Yeah, because that one was sitting at about 4,000 from memory when I first wrote it. And then I've stripped out parts of it that I didn't need and just optimized it in general.
If you have a Solutions Explorer, you can right-click your project and then say Calculate Code Metrics.
That I don't have, no. But when I compile it, I'll be able to determine exactly how many lines of code there are.
Oh, that's right. You're not using Studio, you're using Studio Code.
Yeah, just using a light version.
Which, on one hand, I found to be easier because you can manage projects a lot better.
Yeah, that's why I like it. It's a lot simpler. There's less of the overhead of setting up the projects and managing them. So, yeah.
What happens if you right-click on the patrol ops on the left side? Does it give you any option like that?
Nah, it just tells you
Oh.
find, reveal. That's all, really. When you click on files, it just allows you to compare files, but beyond that, it's really, I don't know. To be honest, I really haven't explored the capability of this. It's more, we'll just work on the integration with how I work. Bound to be a way. I never really cared. Works for me. So let this keep running. Okay, so while it's been running in the background, you can see it's been determining house positions and additional components that it didn't find. So for instance, you can see Kavala has got some houses over here that aren't in the original area, so it's mapped them out as distinct houses separately. So if you ever wanted to create a task which had a house near a position, it would find those houses to go and place the objective area in. And you can see it's identifying industrial estates, fuel depots. It'll find military assets down here. So you can see there's military assets, none of which I placed on the map, because what I found when developing all of this, pretty much almost every mission, not every map maker, and including BI, really don't go to the ends of the earth on the maps config around location of towns, villages, all of that stuff. And especially when Altus was launched, it had a lot of misclassified areas. So this whole point here, it doesn't reference the actual location. It references the type of buildings at those locations to determine are they military or industrial or stuff, and then it'll cluster them together. So you can see here it's identified there's a couple of military buildings in here, so it's determined the area based on where they are. Same over here, and it's defined that area as a military site. Same here, but got some tweaks that need to be made because they shouldn't be overlapping. And you can see here it's mapped out multiple military locations in an area. So what I would do in this instance for the military site was I would place down a logic called military and just define that as a military site, and it would ignore the rest of it.
And then you would just attach it to a trigger.
Exactly, yeah. So I'll give you
Gotcha.
an example because that's already running and I don't want it to run much further. When this jumps out, so if I go to this military site here, oops, let me delete that. I'm literally just going to copy a town over here. I'm going to place it literally roughly covering the area. Redefine the area as around 200 by 200. Might make it a little bit less, maybe 175.
If you press 5, you can drag the corners.
Press, what was it, 5?
Press 5 while you have it selected, and you can drag the corners.
Tell you what, 6,000 hours, never knew that. You just sped up
Yeah,
my
just started
development.
clicking buttons.
Cool. I will definitely remember that. So then in the location type, you would just simply define this as military. And now that's a military area defined. So
There we go.
this is quite literally just iteration upon iteration as you go. Oh, I freaking love you for that.
So you can decide to be this detailed or just never mind and let the map do its thing.
Bingo. But you saw how the clustering works. It works in general, but then you'll notice areas where it really needs a hand. So what I'm doing here is basically I'm just giving it the hand I feel it
Would
needs.
rotating it be any helpful?
Yep.
Or does it not really matter?
Yeah, you can rotate it and all that stuff. The main thing is just to define the aerial logic that it needs to cover. And what it does is it strips out any buildings in that area from further scanning and clustering. So that way it doesn't double up on allocating buildings to multiple locations when they're for a specific purpose. So what I generally do is I go around to the main ones that I know of, and I will define them to make sure that the position of that location is centered around like a road or something that's a bit more open. And that's just to perfect how it positions tasks and stuff at those locations. So here I'm literally just copying and pasting the military area, or at least I hope it's the military area. Let me check that. Yep. There's one more over here. And that's basically the orientation at the end of the day of the location doesn't mean too much. It's more of making sure you've captured the whole area that you wanted to define as that location. Because they're not really going. So the patrol of that location will be referencing the size of the area. The exact orientation and all of that stuff doesn't matter too much. It's just to capture the buildings. And the reason for that is it's referencing a command called in area. So when it, you'll see it in the code a lot. Where is it? Here. So these areas here all use the command in area, which can use the trigger size and location to determine if an object or building is in an area, the trigger area or positional area. And then what I do is once the object or building has been processed, it strips it out. So that way it's not double allocating. But you can see that this does tend to build up over time. You end up with a ton of logics everywhere. But the beauty of it is once you've done this and you've got a perfect working version that you're happy with, that's it. You don't need to do any more. You can delete all the logic once you've run the config. That's it. So the map goes back to being minimalistic.
BI is kind of sloppy with their unmarked military outposts.
Yeah, this is what I found. It's not just BI. It's a lot of mission makers.
They hold BI to a standard, right? And BI gets sloppy. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's fine if I just miss this one.
Yeah, exactly. And when you reference town markers like version 2 and version 3, some of the town markers aren't in the town at all. So, for example, Delphinki is to the left of the town, but in order to make the text appear over the town, they have to put it to the left.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of the flaw in the idea behind it, is the position of that town is actually to the left of the town, not over the town. So when you're doing near buildings and all of that commands running off location information, you're always off center. So by doing this, you can actually perfect the center of the town, the area that you want to cover. And so when the task gets created, it's bang on exactly where it can be done properly, and is a lot more viable compared to older versions.
Is there a way to set sectors that don't have anything spawn in them? Say you want to make an FOB somewhere and you don't want missions to spawn over top?
Oh yeah, you just place down a marker. So it runs off the principle of respawn markers. So if I go to here, to the FOB whiskey for instance, I've got a respawn west marker here. So the metadata is going to ignore this. It'll create it regardless because markers can move over time and the metadata of the map shouldn't move at all. But if you preview this, wherever you have a respawn marker anywhere on the map, it creates a safe zone around it. So if you want to predefine an FOB or such, then this is a perfect example of where tasks, when it's calling, where it's all the positional data that it needs for tasks, you can see it will not call near these respawn areas.
Oh, so it just gives them a force field.
Pretty much, yeah. So if I even go into them, let me grab a gun. I've got my base griefing scripts running. Oops, not that one. This one. And this kind of demonstrates how it detects the zones. Let me just get my favorite. So you can do anything you want, but there's literally sweet FA you can do to other people.
Unless that's ramming them with a vehicle.
There's always that. That's where we can look at the penalty system that gets involved. But you can throw grenades, you can anything that you discharge through any method, either throwing or firing, the projectile gets deleted on the spot.
Does that impact performance at all?
No.
Damn.
And if you are outside the area, For instance, I'm going to go stand on the dock down here, and I'm going to fire into the zone. And as the bullets fly into the safe zone, or maybe a little too far away, I'm going to move a little bit closer. Actually, let's fire from the terminal, for instance. You can see it's detecting the projectile that's entering the area and deleting. So this prevents players from running outside the area and firing back in as well.
Gotcha.
So I remember there used to be tons of reports of base griefers jumping in artillery and firing the artillery on the base when they worked out their projectiles were just being deleted at base.
So one of the things that has come up, what if they have what if there's an AI controlled gun? Does it delete those projectiles too?
It does not.
Okay.
So the beauty of that, though, is because you're friendly, it's very difficult to get an AI to fire on friendlies.
As in, if you had a Mark 45 hammer,
Yes.
the artillery gun, you remote control it and then fire into the base.
It's possible, yes. They can still do it that way.
Okay.
So there's a thousand what if scenarios, and it just depends on how you want to apply the event handler for the fired. But that'll be probably one of the biggest challenges.
Okay. I guess
okay.
one of the fixes would just be putting it at base so they just can't fire directly.
Yeah, exactly. So if they jump in and try and do something and fire that vehicle, it'll delete the projectile of the vehicle. Alright, so here's the logic on the military bases. So you can see they're all nice and neatly defined, and because I called them military, it shades them as red, ready to go.
That's beautiful.
So that just helps refine locations and such as this develops. So you can see it's detecting all the houses that haven't been categorized yet.
It's very satisfying how it goes from the center out.
Yeah, cool.
And then what it does later is it goes through a terrain scan. So it starts and goes literally across each sector, doing terrain scans, running commands like isFlat and empty and such to find clearings, forests, that type of stuff, which you might want to say, okay, in this clearing near this previous location, place a camp. And it finds viable places for camps based on the terrain scan.
I noticed there's an island in the Gulf that has land, but there's no sector over it on the bottom half.
This part here,
I'm waiting for the stream to update. Give me a second. Not that one. There's one in the Gulf up top.
this Gulf up top. Oh,
Like
you mean the cape
the
there?
bay in the center. Yeah.
Just let the stream catch up.
Oh, not the Cape. The one below the Altus International Airport.
Where is it? Oh, you mean this
There's like
one?
an island lower down. Yeah. Is it just barely not enough land mass?
So what it checks is it checks the four corners of the sector. So if one of the corners is residing on a landmass, it'll create that sector.
Oh, gotcha.
So you can
Oh,
see
okay.
it's half covered by a sector because the northeast corner is resting on a landmass, and that can be tailored because the first function here is get map sectors, and all I'm checking here is the line if the sector borders has a greater than 0 count where their surface is not water.
Gotcha.
And that's how it populates the sectors. So then I determine, is the surface water? So what it'll actually say is the center of that sector in the water? Because then that sector becomes defined as a water sector, even though it might have a landmass nearby. The center of the sector is water. The purpose of that is to potentially create diving tasks where you only return sectors that are water, and maybe create a task to have a sunken ship down there to get intel or something like that. But you can also reference the locations like the marinas and stuff. So in the middle here, it's identified the marina in the center of the bay there as a
I'm
possible
writing that
location.
down. We're doing a sunken ship mission.
Wait, sunken ship up. Yeah.
Yep. So all I would say is create locations in areas that you want to do those tasks, and it'll create the metadata for those locations. So the challenge would be is to have sectors. You could just write your own metadata for sectors that are in the water, essentially, rather than run it. Because if you run it for the whole map, if you run it for all corners can be in water, it'll do the whole map, and it looks horrible, and performance starts to degrade.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to cancel that, and I'll show you, I think I may have showed you already the metadata for the current version. So there's a command here called draw map data. So this shows you what metadata has been loaded as part of the map. Oh, and on a side note, if you go and generate map data for terrain after terrain after terrain, you don't have to have mission specific config. You can group all the metadata for each map under the parent class name, which is config mission map data, I think, and it'll go it'll search for the class name of the map, basically.
Awesome. So
Because
if you
you'll
wanted to cycle, say, between Altus and Stratus and Malden, you could do that.
Yep, and that's exactly what this is designed for. So you can see here in config map Altus, the class name of the entire map data is called class Altus. And if I go to a previous archive, and I think it's in one of these old ones, maps, here we are. So in my old versions here, you can see I've done Altus, Chernarus, Clafgan, I can't remember what DYA was, Douala, Malden, Stratus, Takistan, and Tanawa. These are all the configs from version 2 of the betas.
Mm-hmm.
So they are all grouped under a parent called config mission or config map data. And so it just uses the world name you're currently loading up, and that's what it'll pull the metadata from.
Amazing.
So if I draw the map data of what I've got now, watch this one, see how it goes.
So it should populate all of the markers?
Yep.
Oh.
Awesome.
So there is an
And so I guess you can think of this as a mission reading it instead of going through the whole thing of finding all the buildings and finding all the places.
Exactly. So imagine every single time you wanted to find a nice flat and empty space to put down a camp, you just check the config for the current sector you're searching for, rather than run your isFlatAndEmpty commands, which will tax the crap out of the server. So if I zoom in on one of these sectors, for instance, let's turn this off, and we start drilling into one of the sectors. already you can see industrial estates, military buildings, clearings, shacks that it's found, houses. It's found where the roads are and the direction of the roads that they're travelling on. Perfect for IEDs, for instance. There's religious buildings. There's a whole host just in this one little area alone. So the idea is, as you're moving along, it's scanning these positions for the current sector you're in and the nearby sectors, rather than doing nearby locations and all these heavier commands that the server would need to run. You're just checking config now, so it's a lot simpler. And the way it's structured is twofold. So the way it would work here is, let me just remember how to draw. Okay, so if I draw, it's these 8 sectors around you from your current sector that you're in, that it is scanning for positions and considers the direction of travel that you're in, and it goes, okay, if you're heading in this direction, what's the chance of, say, a enemy camp appearing? It'll then go and find a clearing in the general direction you're heading and place down a camp in that location.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming even if you're heading in a certain direction, you'll have a higher chance of it being in front of you because, well, it'd be more convenient than a lower chance of it being behind you.
Exactly. And so if you decide to have a encounter that can only appear in trees or shacks or something like that, this is how it would determine. So if your direction of travel is, let me just make this red. If your direction of travel, yellow, no, yellow is helpful, here. So if you're coming in from the northwest into the area, its arc of scan is going to be roughly that. And it'll find, based on your direction of travel, it'll then search roughly maybe in this sector to potentially place an encounter. And there you go, it's kicking in. So here I've clicked accidentally here, and based on my trajectory, that would be my rough trajectory, it's creating an encounter just over here.
Accidentally seeing it in action.
That's exactly how it works. So this has created, and if we go to Zeus mode and I zoom out, and you can see it has created a little patrol. That will now wait until I get closer, and that's when the dynamic simulation will kick in and start rendering their movements.
And they're just out here harassing the locals.
Pretty much, yeah.
Look at the guy standing sideways.
I know, hey? That's a bit of an odd one. So if I move closer, for instance, we should start to see them render. There they go.
Perfect. So does the dynamic simulation change whenever somebody's in a faster moving vehicle or an air vehicle?
Yes, yes it does.
Awesome. And the civilian's taking it into his own hands.
He seems to be, doesn't he?
More extortion.
IED.
Oh.
No, that was just me killing him.
Yeah.
Well, that's the principle of how this encounter system works. So that's where the metadata for the map comes in key. So when you look at your, let me just collapse the archives. Okay, so and this is what I need to fix, is when you're creating a task, And we'll start with an operation, for instance. So the operations obviously are multiple tasks in one. So when we look at a task, let's look at the destroy cache task, for instance. This one here is searching for position types, towns, shacks, villages, houses and villas, roughly within 1,000 meters of the sector. And so that's how it determines the best locations for that. So the way it works first is if, say I'm in general this area here. So let me just place down a area marker. I'll use this nifty little trick I've learnt tonight. Okay, so this is the area it's going to scan, pretending that we've had another task completed nearby. So there's 9 sectors there, and
Yep.
the first thing it does is it doesn't go for the areas, it goes for the sectors. So if I show you what the sectors look like, this is the key part to the optimization, is when you look at the sector tells you what areas are actually in there when it loads up.
And it only tells you when you ask for it instead of giving you all the information at once.
Exactly. And it'll only give you the names as well. So I'll pretend that we have, let's put a sector here, and a thing here, and we'll call this a house, for instance. And there's another one over here in this sector called clearing. The way, reopen, running out of memory here. Of course you crashed. Okay, so let's pick a random sector, for instance. Okay, so here's a good example of a sector. So when the config runs, it goes and goes, okay, what is my current sector? And it'll say, okay, my current sector is this one here. Let's make this big so I can use it as my arrow, and we'll make it blue. Okay, so this is my current sector. It then goes, okay, what is the nearby sectors? So it gets the names of all these other sectors. Keep in mind, it's the name, not the position, it's not any data, it's the theoretical name of what sectors should be, these should be called. And it goes, okay, so for sector 2050 07500, and you can see the position of that sector is actually a direct correlation to its name. That's the center of the position. The orientation, which is a 500 by 500, hence the 1,000 meter sector. It's not on water. Inside this sector is a clearing, forest, house, shack and trees, and this instantly allows the task to validate, is this a viable sector for that task? Because if it's looking for exact types, it goes yes or no, just simply on, is the type I'm looking for in the sector at all? If it is, it then goes, okay, well, what are all the areas in there? And then it starts getting the details about the areas it needs to then filter down to a viable area. So it'll loop through each of these areas. Say it's searching for a clearing, it'll loop through these, finding the clearings, rather than searching through every single sector in the area looking for something that looks like a clearing.
It's like playing 21 questions with one person instead of 74.
Bingo. And because we're running this in config, we're now comparing on config calls and values, not scanning terrains and all of that stuff. So the efficiencies here are enormous. So this is why Patrol Ops 4 can hit a scale that Patrol Ops 3 couldn't do. because now it can do multi-tiered tasks, and it now can do much more efficient position calculations. Because if we look at it, this distinct clearing of clearing 465, if I go and find that one, there's only one, because it only belongs to sector, and see how it reverse maps it as well. So for clearing 465, it's telling me it is into this sector. The type is a clearing, the orientation and the position of that clearing. If I go to areas which require more data, such as cities, you can see the area subsectors, and again the types and details and how many buildings there are. And if we go to, there's more, I think it's military. Let me just find a military one. Here we are. So militaries are a bit smaller, they only have 3 buildings, so therefore they don't have a sector in them. But you can see here's all the military locations it's found as a result. So yeah, that's how it works.
So you're considering this mostly done?
Mostly done. So where I've got a glitch at the moment is in the task preparation stage. This is the one bug I'm having, and it's not a bug in the code, it's a bug in the procedure on how it develops the position. So if I open, oh god, where did I put the task, the script? It is get task position. Okay, so this is the biggest challenge I have. So the idea is this script returns the position of the task, the position offset of the task, and the area ID it found if it wasn't specified earlier. So you give it a config task ID, which is what you've written down before. It goes and
Yep.
gets the fundamentals. So do you have a position, offset, search radius, search types, near last, is it near a road, and is it in water? And then it just goes through tons of if statements. Now my challenge is this should not be returning a position that has already been used. And unfortunately it is. So I'll give you an example. Let me just reopen this and get rid of those markers. Oh, not that one. That one. Okay, so if I play this, and I think it's the orange task I was testing. The challenge here is it was creating objective A, B and C, and in the absence of viable locations, if there happened to be a position overlap, it would create potentially B and C on top of each other, which is not the end of the world, but it's not what I want.
And it would be a little difficult to complete if your objectives are clipping into each other.
Exactly, like orange is difficult because if you do it, it'll potentially create B and C at the same location, which is exactly what it has just done. Now, objective C is a unexploded ordnance task, and here objective B, which is at the same location, is to establish a communication tower. So you essentially have to clear the unexploded ordnance and establish a communications tower. Now, in what reality would someone certify a viable communications position in the middle of a minefield? Basically, it just doesn't make any sense.
Aha, but it's pre-protected.
That's true, but it's a sizable hazard to those attempting to solve the problem,
Yes.
to deploy the tower. So here you can see B and C are right on top of each other, whereas A, and this is where I'm not happy about it, A is kilometres away when they shouldn't. It should be within adjacent sectors to each other, within reason. So I would have expected it to be in this area, not that whole area.
But does everything go off of A, or does everything go off of a different point?
Well, that's a good question, and this is what I need to investigate, because I haven't touched this script in God knows how long, and what it does initially, so we've got the position task, and if we go to the configuration task, this script here is where it creates the theoretical parent to be triggered, but it doesn't create any of the child tasks at this stage. There's no metadata in the mission about what the child tasks should be doing. It's only until you trigger the task creation, does it then go, okay, if you're a parent task, go and loop through and create the child tasks. But by doing that, it is passing the offset position of the parent to the child. So when we look at the child, I can instantly see my mistake. Fuck a duck. That is why. That's one of the causes. Okay, so what I've done wrong here is this is my old logic for the config tasks. Where I'm passing through the config task ID, the offset position of the parent, and the task ID of the parent. Now this is calling the same function, but it's expecting config task ID. Oh no, it's position and parent ID, so I'm doing that right then. So I'm just rediscovering my code. Okay, because then it gets all the variables. If the parent ID exists, it goes and gets the parent ID. Position's defined here, which is the offset. So it passes that all to the config position here, which is what I expected to do. So it passes the config, task, and the area. So it simply goes, okay, if you've asked it to do the position near last, which is often true, and the position is empty, which in this case shouldn't be true, that should escape. So let's test this one. We're going to add in the parent ID. And then I want the config task ID. I don't care about the task ID. The area ID if we've got it. And the basic information here of the... We'll leave that for now. I just want to see what that looks like.
Miller, what he's doing is he's making a command for the script to say what's going on in chat.
So what it should do is in the chat little window down in the bottom left.
Missing a comma after area ID.
Yep. Good spotting. So it should output in the string, it should be what is the parent ID, the current config task of the child, the area ID it's passing through, if any, the position near last indicator, so this should be true or false, and then the current position it's checking. So I'm expecting it not to equal 000. If it does equal 000, then this thing should be firing, which is getting the last known position for a nearby task.
Wonderful.
see how this goes. Okay, so if we open up our interesting. Oh no, that's okay. I expected them to do that. Okay, so let's go to our ops, available ops and RTF. Alright, let's load that. So you can see there's the parent and the child, and interesting. They are doing exactly as I feared. 0, 0, 0. So what's concerning is each time it is 0, 0, 0. So the area ID,
So you're saying what it's doing is it's just going to the center of the selected sector instead of choosing this correct area?
well, what it's doing is it's triggering this function. So the position near last is returning as true, but the position is being passed. So here, this function here, fucking duck. Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, so I'm passing, when I'm creating the child, the position offset is being passed to here, and then this positional data, I need to check this part as well. So I've got to check the initial creation of the tasks before it gets the positional data, because this is where it'll define where it'll define what inputs it's passing for the child to then go and do this. So I need to know the parent ID, the config task ID, and the position that's being passed to this function. Because then that'll determine, because what's being passed into the function in the attribute area ID is an empty array of 0, 0, 0. The parent, however, should not be 0, 0, 0. It should be at a determined location, but where have I determined that? Just thinking, if I go here to, where is my orange? Okay, you can see the parent is empty and it's passing 0, 0, 0. That is why. But you can see in this instance it created exactly as I hoped. My problem is it's not consistent.
But it looks like it's still creating it exactly in the center.
Yeah, so what it'll do, and that comes just down to how you've configured the task, because remember the position, when you don't specify an exact location, it'll define position as the center of the sector, position offset as the position of the actual area, and what's the third attribute? The area ID it's used. So if you specified towns and cities, position will return, the first attribute is the center of the sector that the town is located in. Position offset is the actual position of the town, and then the area ID is the ID of that town. That's from the config.
Okay, and so if you wanted the exact position of the town, you use position offset instead of position.
Correct. So in your task config, and we look at cache for instance, so the Intel information here is set to display at the position, not the position offset.
Gotcha.
But if you look at the groups that are spawning, they're located at the offset position.
Oh, nice.
So you would simply say in your position as position offset to make sure the markers and everything orient around the exact location of the task. Alright, so my problem here... Now, the parent task should be sending 0, 0, 0, because if you have 0, 0, 0, then it won't display the actual position of the parent, which it shouldn't do, because the position of the parent doesn't exist relative to the map. Only the child's have exact position, so it'll pass that. So what should happen is task A should go through this process from new. It should go last position and define a new position, because there is no last position.
Gotcha.
But B and C should pick up this as the last position and therefore not need to generate a new ID, which they do because they are roughly located nearby A. They're not on the other side of the map, which is correct. So position near last does appear to be working.
So you said that this mission that you just generated worked as intended.
The one that was just there, see how A is here, B is 2 sectors away, and C is in the sector just to the west. So these have created as I would have expected. So A was done first, and then B has been positioned near last is true, so it's near A, and C is near last, which is near B. So this is an acceptable distribution of tasks for a specific operation.
Gotcha.
To be randomly generated. Now my challenge is not that set of sequence, that seems to be okay. And what the hell am I doing here? This must be generated that way. I'll get rid of that, I don't need that anymore. Okay, so this is working. Now this is where the search types are kicking in. So this is where it's going through the map sectors, finding all the map sectors that have the desirable locations that we need, that are nearby. So you can see that's all working. Now my challenge is stripping away the sectors that already have an active task in them. And I cannot this is where this function here does not seem to be working. Because C should not be created when B is already,
B is
in,
already
the
in the
location.
sector.
Yeah, but it's doing it. Now, am I creating A, B and C too quickly? That might be a possibility, but it shouldn't, because it should be sequential. Because the way this loops is it's a call to the MPSF task function, so it's the only thing I can think of.
Do you want it to check first?
Well, it should check. The only challenge I have is if it's checking in parallel, that might be... No, it should be doing it sequentially. But this is the challenge. Because if I let's just system chat string. Let's see the frame numbers these are running at. because if the frame numbers are too close together, there's a potential that, because it takes about, what was it? It's about 30 frames or something to create a task roughly, because of how much processing it needs to do. So if another task is executing in parallel, then the module won't be active yet until the task is ready. So therefore
So
it
it
won't
takes
be
about
filtering it out.
3/5 of a second.
About that, yeah. That doesn't include spawning AI though. That's just getting all the configs and position data.
Gotcha.
So you can see supply, then comms, and then minefield pop up. See, that's okay. See, it's roughly, what's that, 34 frames? And then 33 frames in between each one. So it's exactly...
Yeah, that's not bad.
But you can see, oh, okay. Interesting, it's done another successful sequence.
Well, let's try again. Do you want to start an Excel sheet?
I'm just going to keep creating the same task. So if we go back here, because I've turned off the limits.
Oh dear. Well, it's not really your problem because they're not really rendered.
So there's A, B, and C, and that's been successful. So you can see how it's kicking off position near last every time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try this again. F4,
Were we just
F2.
really unlucky?
Could be. So there's A, there's B, and C right on top.
Okay.
Fuck! Come on. Now C executed 35 frames, 36 frames, roughly.
A to B was exactly 30. B to C was 40.
That's 30,
Yeah, 30, 35.
So it's still bang on with the timing. It's just why is that positional data not filtering out the position?
Is there an extra check you can do within the get tasks position script?
Yes. I've just got to know what I'm checking for, because this is the function here I have, which is has no task modules in the map sectors. So this should be returning every sector that does not have a task module in it. So if we go get config map data, which is in config, get config map data, just search for that. It's right here, so it gets all the task modules, and it only gets the active ones, which is the true there. And then it applies get the current sector of all those modules, and then it goes sectors minus the intersect of those two, so which ones overlap. Get current sector of that BIS position. It's all freaking logical. So let's do system chat string task module sectors. Let's have a look at all the sectors that are being created at the moment. So we should see this increment as the modules become active, hopefully. Alright, so if we go Amaral, F4, F2, okay, so there's 2 sectors active, 3 sectors active, 4 sectors active. But notice shit, all of them are in the same sector. But they're not.
So what is that reporting? It's odd.
That is this.
It's something about 500, 500.
Yeah, so it's getting, so what it's doing is it's getting all the task modules which are active. So if I go to get task modules, which is here, it's checking for specific types, which is nil, so it doesn't care. And is it active? And I'm saying yes, task module must be active. Otherwise it will return every inactive task module. So that is returning the logics across the map, which are patrol ops task modules. And then it's applying, getting the current sector for those. Now, the headache I have is all those sectors are the same. 05000005. Freaking hell. That is not the sectors that they're in.
Are you sure you're getting the correct variable?
I'm pretty sure. I'm just going to run this in the config here, see what I get. So here's all the sectors I'm getting.
They're all the same.
They're all the same. So let's strip off that. Don't care about it. Let's get the position of the logics. Oh, there we go. That's the problem. So this is returning nothing.
So we're just getting lucky by it spreading out.
By, oh, that's a good question. I think it's dumb luck, to be honest. Because this should be filtering out task modules, but this function here is so the task modules are working.
Yep.
This position function, I see it. I'm an absolute muppet.
That's what we're here for.
Learning by doing. Still a fucking muppet. Alright. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that.
Yep. I saw
Okay.
a different sector in there.
So this one I expect, because those are the empty task modules.
Mm-hmm.
That one, so that's B, C and A. So A is that one there. B and C are on top of each other there. So, I think I fixed it. Now, the key to note is, with this function, BIS function position, is you do not put the input in an array itself, you call it directly. So, me being the muppet I am, I had the X nested in an array. That's
The
why,
argument says it could be in an array.
if it's a position.
Oh, gotcha.
So because I had it in an array, it was looking at the first, say, the X coordinate of that array, and the X coordinate isn't a number, it's an object. So it
And
was
it wants
just,
to find the position. It's like, where's my Y value?
exactly, so it's just, it was me being stupid. So let's try this now, and this, let's restart, let me get rid of that from the monitoring stuff. Restart this. Oh, it's the little things sometimes.
Yep.
This goes back to Mr. Steph's comment earlier. How many lines of code? Too fucking many.
The answer is yes.
Alright, let's run this again. Oh, if we could just open it up, there we go. F4, F2, RTF. Okay, expect that. There's a new sector. There's another new sector. Alright, first sign is promising. Let's try it again.
Can you not zoom out while you're in the tablet?
Ah, I've restricted it too much. That's a good sign.
Okay. Nice. It even like avoided the ones that were currently there.
Yeah. Says A. Oh shit, what's going on? Let's go and find these ones. Tasks. C. Oh, they're down there. B. A. Ah, that's my next viable locations. I was running out of locations. I think I fixed the problem now. And it's all because I had a X value nested in an array. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's run this a few more times and see.
We will fill the map with tasks.
So these should now be created down here because they're all set to... I'm just going to spam this and see how
Propagate
I
near
can
each
break
other.
it.
What if you gathered 300 points of intel? How many tasks could you create?
See, now you can see them executing in parallel and the effect it's having. Because now, because I just spammed it, you've got ones creating on top of each other. And that's what I meant by, see, I've got 3 all on top of each other. But the likelihood of this ever happening is 0. As you can see, it's executing in sequence now, in parallel.
Yeah.
But it's creating the operation in parallel.
So what are the planned positions? Is that something that's going to be taken up later?
How do you mean?
There are markers called planned position, and they look like they're positioned next to current task sectors.
Ah, yes, so when you zoom into here, this is the planned position of where that tower has to go up. So you have to move the shipping container to somewhere in the vicinity of there and deploy the tower.
Okay.
As long as it's within the radius.
And that would help you, or I mean, that flexibility would help you go, okay, well, this is not easily defendable, let's move it.
Bingo. So if it doesn't have to be exactly on that location, it just has to be within that blue area. Alright, well, I thought this was going to take me a lot longer to fix. That kind of went a lot faster. Now, I have a problem. I've noticed a bug already. This task here, C, we will need to check with mine detectors because these should be rendering unexploded ordnance fields.
Sometimes if the ordnance is set to a specific side, like if it was placed down by a side, you can just switch sides and it'll tell you.
Yeah. So if we go...
You failed.
Oh yeah, there'd be a pile of shipping containers over here. There they all are.
I realize.
Oh shit, they've kind of exploded everywhere. So there's 2 over here. They've just gone boing. Yeah, don't do that.
You should spawn them in the air so they kind of fall down.
Yeah. Crush people. So, let me just check my gear, make sure I've got a mine detector on me. Backpack. I don't. So, let's... Oh wait, I don't have a backpack on. Oh, leg one. Let's just do this one. Nope, not a forward tripod. It's my favourite. Get back. Oh, fuck's sake. Line detector. Bang. Okay, so let's go to one of these fields. I'm going to not draw the map data. Otherwise... Oi! Well, it's definitely going off.
Did you just land on one?
No, but the mine detector's going off already.
Oh, okay. That would have been funny if you teleported in and just died. I mean, you can't really die, but still.
Would not be the first time. Okay, so the mine detector's definitely picking up stuff.
Is it calling it a UXO if you press T and look at it?
Yep.
UXOs decide when they want to go off, not necessarily mines.
Ouch.
Yeah.
But problem is it's not rendering the field, so I just need to check if I'm getting any
Look down.
errors.
Should also remove the system chat that's telling you all the different positions.
Ah yes, excellent point. We'll just clean this up. Save that, get rid of that, and system chat here. Okay, so let's go to app data. Okay, so any script errors? Oddly enough. That's to be expected. So I should have paid attention because this is the error that the position was throwing at me when I had the object, the logic object is in the nested thing.
Oh. Well, that's handy to see now.
Yeah, it's always hindsight's 20/20, as they say. Not seeing any script errors because what it should be doing, I'll just exit out of this. What it should be doing is rendering the minefield. So that's in the spawner. Create UXO, where is it? UXO area. Show markers, so this is where it's using the draw field command. Now by default it's off, so that goes back to the task script where it goes and creates. So if I look at the UXO task, which is here, the composition is a UXO minefield at the offset position with 150 meter radius. So the compositional task, which is create compositions, if the minefield is not equal to 0, create the UXO area, and if that's why Intel by default is false. That makes sense then. So I just need to say the Intel is true. So to confirm the config of the task, just go down to the composition section. Here it is. And I'm looking for Intel. So I'm just going to take that, whack it in here. And this is where you can, what I was mentioning before is the Boolean is calculated on a scale, so if you put a decimal instead of an integer, it'll determine the probability. So if I want a 0.9 or 90% chance the Intel will be marked, that's the way to do it.
Nice.
But I'm
Can
just
you do that based off of, I feel like that'd be complicated, but civilian nearby, like, oh, we noticed that there's a lot of explosions going off over here.
Yeah, haven't built anything like that. Like, it's certainly possible from a script perspective, but you would have to specify the equations and the variables in those equations. So I do
Yeah,
something similar for the task objectives. So you remember down before where you have all your variables, this and this or this and this for your objective criteria for each of the tasks.
yep.
Those are predefined variables. We would just need to create variables like that and then change that to a compile, which is then assessed. So a fair bit of effort, to be honest, to do that.
Maybe not worth it.
Well, we'll put it on the back burner. Backlog, I mean.
Hey,
Freaking love that. It's now working. But what's interesting, no UXO. Even though the Intel is 1. So Intel is 1. Oh, because I'm a freaking idiot. I gotta fix that. Right now I've called it download Intel. Just needs to be Intel.
is that something you'll be able to pull from a drone later?
Kind of. So in compositions, if there's laptops or devices that are identified in the config in another area on objects that you can download Intel from, when you create a composition, it'll automatically add the actions in, so that if the objective criteria is to download Intel, you will have those options to download the Intel from those objects.
Oh, that's really handy.
Yeah, it means you don't
One
have
thing
to
we
write
do
any
on
code. You just specify it in the config.
One thing that we like to do on our public server is run Zeus ops, like simultaneously while patrol ops is running.
Yep.
Like pull people off of patrol ops, have them do a more story based one. I guess with this, you could place down laptops and then reward them with intel as they complete the Zeus objective.
That's true.
Does it consistently check, or is there a certain like initialization code you have to apply to it?
There's initialization code you'll have to apply to it, but
Okay.
it's quite simple. Um, if you go to the Intel thing, there's create Intel, and all it needs to know is what is the object that you're creating the Intel on, and the arguments that you're passing through. Now the arguments are key, because when people download the Intel, and this can be used on anything, this is a common function, so if it's, let me start at the start, which is the config. In the config, in the framework here, you can see the Intel drop types. So if the Intel type is in here, the action is to pick up the Intel. If it's in this array, it is to download the Intel. So that's the difference between the two. So this command for Intel assesses whether they're in these two arrays and will add the appropriate action to them.
Mm-hmm.
What it then does is when the action is downloaded or picked up, it fires an appropriate event handler across the mission, which passes the attributes that you specify in your command here, so the arguments that you pass through here, and those are broadcast across the network. Now in Patrol Ops, the arguments are the tasks, the task ID that Intel maps to. So all you would need to do is just hijack that process with your own task ID. But yeah, it's not straight. It'll take some playing around to get it running properly, but it's certainly doable.
Awesome. Oops.
Now what's driving me nuts here is this UXO. So I've tried download Intel, I've tried Intel. Let me try both. One on one. Now the config should be returning comp Intel. So if it's a minefield, which it should be returning here, if it's UXO, do this. Comp pos, comp radius, comp intel is that. And then that should, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is overriding it. You have a very loud keyboard.
Sorry.
That's alright. So this is actually overriding this value with download intel. So actually,
I usually mute my mic when I talk or type, but forgot to.
oh no, you're fine. If composition select 10 is equal to false. No, that didn't work. Alright, I'm going to add in different types. How to do this simply. Private tell tell if not intel. So I'm just going to do a quick and dirty. For two variables within the config, and then I'm simply just going to whack that in there. So it'll either be false that way or it'll be false this way, so I can have either. And I'll just have both in the meantime.
Hopefully one works.
Hopefully. So that should share this with comp intel for create UXO area, which should pass the center, the areas, okay, to center, radius, and intel. Side ID, which should be, ooh, I don't like that at all. That's short-sighted. That side ID is not right. I need to fix that. It's not the end of the world, I just need to make sure it runs. It works because I've hard-coded it to NATO, but that's going to trip anyone up changing factions and stuff like that. So
Good thing you caught it.
Yeah, config faction, I need side ID. So I need that. Oops, no. So this just simply allows people to create dynamic factions. So I just need the side ID. That's going to go in there. And I need to know the faction ID. So I need the blue 4 faction ID. Because Patrol Ops is one-sided. Okay, so that should give me the faction ID, composite position, component position. The radius, why is the radius nested like that? The radius is nested because it is the area size. That's the minimum to maximum area, which is fine. but I don't like how that's done. So
Husky is asking if you will go to prom with them.
Oh,
so what did I had that at 150 meters, so I'll make that maximum 150 with minimum 80. And let me just check my config for the task. It's funny because I've got my phone sitting right in front of me and I'm not paying attention at all. Radius. Ooh, okay, radius is going to be interesting because the radius here is integer. So let's leave it as an integer for now. But I'd like to change that to a maximum minimum later on. So I'll make that a note on that as a to-do. Cool. Okay, so that returns the radius, which is 0 to that, which is fine. The equation here will work as minimum area is the minimum, that's what I expect. And that's the maximum minus, well, 0, so it'll give the maximum. Creates that, which we know works, and it does the side ID properly. And you can see the ordinance type here for the various sides. Then we've got show markers. So why the hell is this function not kicking off? Let's system chat this one. Okay, go. No, go. Okay. So let's run this. So it's creating C and it's there you go. So there's the ordnance area.
Hey, does it create it every time now?
Let's try.
Been burned before.
Oh yes. A, B, C, bingo.
Hey,
Alright,
or C.
so if I just run this and I go grab a mine detector, set my fun loadout, okay, and just check my backpack. Why is that never a mine kit? Okay, let's go play some silly buggers and we'll go and run around the field. So it's always good in... What the fuck was that? Someone just ran over a mine. So it's good if this is an ellipsis, is to start near the points, because that's where roughly within 5 meters you're going to find some good examples of UXO. Case in point.
Thunk.
Yeah, that was a headache. Especially when I've learned to turn my volume down at these points. So I'll just run right to the edge. So this should dynamically shrink as we discover more and more and more.
Snake is dodging your bullets.
They're very resilient sometimes.
That one did not.
No. Oh, while we're here, let's test the conversation system. Oh, what's this?
As you said conversation system on the stream, you pull out your sniper scope and looked at him. It's like,
That could have
don't
been
think that's
bad.
how it works. Just shoot it.
So, I just injured this guy. Oh, I love this. Definitely saw some soldiers towards the northwest, near a clearing about 6 minutes walk. That's your contribution.
Success. Thank you for your help. It is no longer needed.
Double tap to the back. So you can see this area is already, if we just jump around, let's jump down to the other end, see if there's anything down here. Actually, if I go here, that's good. These zones should shrink as you detonate the ordnance. Actually, you know what, I'm just going to 4 times the speed.
Now it's what? Minute. 2 minutes walk? Oh, you're just trying to find UXOs. That's right.
Yeah, just doing UXOs. Ow. Getting shot.
Deal with them later.
Ah, of course I ran out of bullets shooting the civilians.
And the snakes.
And the snakes. He's down. Let's see if he's got any intel on him.
Dang, the Viper teams are going to be vicious, especially on public servers, because everyone loves to use thermals.
Alright, no intel, so I'll just pack his body up.
Evox, you excited not to be able to see the enemy?
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
So...
Viper teams are gonna be fun to deal with.
Well, the good thing is you can add a gear restriction in that prevents them from picking up their night vision.
Ooh.
Oh, yay.
So if they try and do it, it'll just delete it as soon as they pick it up. Because remember, there's an event handler assigned to dropping and picking up items. So all you have to do is just add a line of code and say, if the item is X, remove from inventory.
Oh no, it looks like the night vision optics have self-destructed.
It turns out it was cardboard and has evaporated. Oh. There's one more.
Ta-da!
I'm surprised there are so many snakes everywhere. Oh, another one.
And we should cluster strike the area. That'll clear the snakes out.
Oh, good idea. And the UXO.
Yeah, but they'll put more UXO.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. But not UXO that's relevant to the task. Oh, no. No, that's not how I've written it. I'm just do ordnance strike. Let's do 10 rounds. Let's go a little bit to the east, maybe a little bit higher. Keep in mind, don't do this properly because it kills a lot of civilians. Mental note, I've got to fix the dubbing.
Be advised, friendly artillery inbound on enemy positions.
3, 2, 1, thud. Wow, that landed right on top of you.
Also. Oh. I heard
Coincidentally, there were no more snakes.
one. Yeah, they kind of sensed my hostile acts towards them. But you can see the thing has gotten a lot shorter. So it's reduced the area as you detonate the UXO.
That is really useful. And especially on the cache missions, when you're destroying the weapons caches, does it delete the area once you're finished with it?
Yes.
Yay.
See, I just destroyed that one. And when you catch up on the stream in about 10 minutes, you'll see it shrink down.
Yay. So now it's only 100 meters by 100 meters.
Bingo. So initially it's difficult, but the more people you have, the quicker it goes. Oh, hello. Oh, maybe I should try aiming. Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. Okay. So, oh, it's really shrunk down now.
There's just one left.
And I think I can see it from here.
Maybe you should make minimum size 100 meters by 100 meters just to keep it interesting.
Okay, so... Alright, the UXO has now cleared, and the task should complete. Now, how many tasks do we have open at the moment? Alright, so it should be closing shortly. So remember, it's looping through a timer. Per frame, it's assessing one task after the other, so it could take a few seconds for I think it's up to 20 seconds for a task to complete.
Time acceleration.
Yeah, well, it's tied to the frames, so it's not going to get any better.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we'll let that run. Let's go and look at A. Oh, wait. Let's look at A down here. Yeah, oh, shit. Grenade!
Oh, that was like 7 of them in one go.
It's a good placement, eh?
Yeah, I
That
rolled
was-
down the hill right into the center.
That was intentional.
This is what 6,000 hours of armor gets you.
Now... Is that it? Oh shit, I got them all. Alright. Unexpected.
Literally that good.
What the fuck is this? Oh. There's a random ammo box up here.
Does it have anything
Oh,
in it?
no, these are the... I'm an idiot. These are the caches. Because remember, I accidentally mislabeled this one, so I've got to go back to base. because I don't have any C4. Okay, backpack, explosives, 3 sticks. Alright, let's jump back. And they were on the ridge line somewhere up here.
Mm-hmm. The netted one is to your left, and then the single launcher's box is to your right.
Let's cheat a little bit further up. What's interesting is C still has not... Oh no, it has. C has completed. Yeah, it has. Good. Okay, so put explosive down.
Task cancelled. What was? Oh, is that a roam task?
Yeah, that was the roaming ones. Because I've got task notifications on for those ones, just so I can see when they come and go.
Cool. That's not a bush. That's a bomb.
It's a happy meal.
Fire in the hole, fire in the hole, fire in the hole.
Now, my question is, was that the only one? There's one down, 2 down. Oh, the other one's all the way over there.
Does it work if you shoot it?
Yep. Task complete. And secondary explosions going off.
I was about to say secondaries. Fantastic.
Now, B I'm not going to... Oh, I'll probably do B. My challenge with B is... I got 2 shipping containers. So which one is which?
Are they tied to the task?
Yep.
Just drag them all over there and then just keep deploying them.
Yeah. One's going to fail.
It's fine.
I don't remember where I am now. Hang on.
Over to your right. There's little red arrows on the edge of your screen.
Yep. Ah, yes, see. Okay. Now I just need to get onto B perfectly. So I put it right on there. And let's jump to B. Ow. Assholes. Fuck off.
Looks like they don't want you deploying the tower.
Well, the premise is they kind of disrupted it, so... Oh, fuck off. Ow.
You got armored.
Oh, that was the wrong tower. Okay, I'll get the other tower over here then. Can't be a pain in the ass like that.
Put your cursor on the right side of your screen so you zoom out away from that direction.
Yep.
Please be the one. Please be the one.
Hopefully it's one of the... Oh, yep, B's completed. Oh, did I fail that? Oh, still one's
Oh.
there. Ah, fuck. That doesn't make sense. I'll have to check these out. Alright, then we've got the final C task over here.
Did both Bs, or both Bs are going to fail eventually.
Yeah, they should.
Time to explode the whole AO again.
Yep, there they go. I'm just going to assign that one to myself. Could do the same thing to this AO, but I'm not going to do that.
He's off to bed.
What time is it there?
For him, it is about 4 a.m.
Oh,
For me, it's about 5 a.m.
yeah, fair enough. Can't hold it against him. I mean, we could try. Just won't have much weight. Go away.
Oh, do you have your mine detector open? There we go. One down. Two down. Number 3.
Also helps when you're aiming is to turn off time acceleration.
I bet. Four.
You can also see here how the main cluster has dwindled, but we missed one, and so it's separated from the main cluster and it's created a little small area here for us to investigate. So it helps you pick up any isolated ones.
A good hobby for us is driving over mines or UXOs with hunters because they normally can take a whole bunch of them.
Oh yeah, that's kind of half the intention as well. So get your mine kits out, get the minesweepers in vehicles, all that stuff. Very rarely would you do this on foot these days.
Two right next to each other.
Of course I'm out of.
Pistol.
It's like it waits for me to look at them.
Yeah, I suppose it's a timer, and then also depends how much you walk around it that like disturbs it.
So I mean, if we demonstrate the hunter here, let's just zoom in here. makes perfect sense.
Center rock. Did you just high center it? No, you're good.
So around here, it better not be under the rock. If it is, I'm going to be pissed.
I guess see it. It's between the two rocks. You could see it from your view. I think it's the tail end of a white one. It's just lighting.
Cannot see it. Oh, there it is. Ah, come on. Is it in the rock? Out of all the tests, this is the first UXO that's in the rock. I wonder.
See if walking next to it will disturb it.
So there it is right there. So I can glitch through the rock and get it. Let's see if I place C4 down.
Usually it doesn't work.
No.
Did fling you back quite a distance though.
Oh. Oh. That was the MRAP.
Oh.
Okay, out of all the tests, this is the first UXO that's been under a rock. Well, we'll have to work on that one. Alright, well mostly it's pretty much there. I've solved the main problem. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer tonight. So I just got to clean it up, but I think I'll start wrapping this up and we might do an update to the beta shortly. And if all the tests go
Gotcha.
well, I'll just focus on making sure the tasks map out properly and then release it.
Cool.
So it'll just be small tweaks after that and it's good to go. Alright, well I think I might
Nice shot.
call it there then.
Cool. So all it has to be, or all of it has to be done. For a release candidate build, there has to be a little bit more tweaking to the way missions spawn. It looks like. And
Not really. I'm okay because you can cancel the operation once it's in play, and
Oh,
cancel
okay.
specific tasks if you need to. It's just going to be tweaking some small things here and there, but I'm thinking no more than a couple of weeks, and then we should be good with another release candidate.
cool.
And yeah,
It's really awesome watching it go.
oh, it's doing this keeps things going, which is good. 'Cause, yeah, there's long periods of times where I just didn't have time to work on it, and motivation-wise was struggling.
We've all been there.
Alright, so I'll just commit these changes. That's all I want. Yeah, so for the release we need just to do compatibility testing with mods. So the next release candidate will be focused around ACE support and RHS and stuff like that, and doing the metadata for all the variants of maps. And that's just a matter of creating all the faction versions and stuff, but that's I'll roll those out over time.
Gotcha. Side question: does creating compositions in Eden, does that keep variable names and stuff like that in the composition?
That's a good question. I've never tested it.
Because if I were to test a bunch of maps, I'd just make a composition of an entire base and just throw it wherever as
Yeah.
needed.
I mean, that could potentially be in the mission SQM file if you did that. We can hide and show it as we need.
Yeah, that works out.
Alright, I will end the stream there. That should do it for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.